Oh, good, good. Where you at? Are you off the ash or off of the? Off the ash. Okay, mix the random. Been a long time since I've been off there. Hi, brother. How are you, man? Good to see you. Yes, sir.
Hey, how are you doing? How'd your meeting go?
It went good. We did, it was 7-3. Economic development meeting.
Okay.
They passed it 7-3.
Good, good. I had a bunch of calls from a lot of veterans supporting you. So hope it works out for you tonight. Yep.
All right, if they stand up.
You got it? Okay. Hey, Tim. Tell Mom I said hi. How are you? How are you? Huh?
Little presentation tonight?
477.
Recording's ready?
How often do you see
Okay.
people come here with money instead of asking for it?
The September 17th, 2024 meeting of the City Council is called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Lesko, can you please call the roll?
Will do. Alderman Redpath.
Here.
Alderman Gregory.
Here.
Alderman Williams.
Here.
Alderman Rockford.
Here.
Alderwoman Purchase.
Here.
Alderwoman Notriano.
Here.
Alderman Carlson.
Here.
Alderwoman Connolly.
Present.
Alderman Donlin.
Here.
Alderman Hanauer.
Here.
Mayor Busher.
Present.
Mayor Busher, a quorum is present.
Thank you, Clerk Lesko. The Civility Pledge. In the interest of civility, I pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful of others, acknowledging that we are all striving to support and improve our community, and understanding that we each may have different ideas for achieving that objective. At this time, we do have one presentation today. I'd like to ask the Community Relations Director, Ethan Posey, and then we have a presentation by Brad Shivey, who represents the Laborers Employers Cooperation and Education Trust, and Brad's going to come up with Ethan, and they're going to do a presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see your smiling faces. So, as you all know, the Office of Community Relations has been working on a first-time initiative called the My First Home Initiative, where we've taken a property that the city already owns, 1933 East Cedar Street, and we're putting $120,000 into it to rehab the house and sell it back to a member of the community who would be a first-time home buyer for a fraction of the cost of what we're putting in there. As you guys have observed in recent conversations, yesterday's price is not today's price as far as the cost of materials, as far as paying prevailing wage, and the bids that we've been getting in to do this work have been much higher than we actually anticipated them being originally, which is something that as we go into next budget season, I'll be making sure that I take into account. However, our office and the mayor and this administration realize how important it is to start getting some things done for the east side. It's something that people want. It's something that you've been vocal about on the council. It's something that the mayor has been vocal about. So we've exhausted all of our options to figure out what we can do to try and get this program over the line so we can present it and make it sustainable in the future, learn from what our issues are. So Chief of Staff Disco, Purchasing Agent Lesko, and myself sat down with Brad Shivey over at 477 and said, Brad, here's what we're trying to do for the community. We're running into some potholes where, we're hitting our head against the wall. This needs to get done for the people. How can we get it done? And Brad and the guys over at 477 have come up with a way to give us some major aid in getting this project across the line. And I'll let Brad explain that to you all.
So when the director and the other directors came and spoke to us, one of the issues is the fact that material costs more than it ever has. So rock is more, concrete is more. I remember when rock was when concrete was $98 a yard, and now it's $168. And you have some of the largest projects in the history of the city going on, $200 million apiece. So, getting people to bid on a residential home on Cedar Street is tough. Getting individuals that'll work with us for pre-apprenticeship programs and put people in there, it's even tougher. So when the directors came and spoke to us, I reached out. We have a board called LESIT. That is a labor management board. And the reason that the members are here tonight is there's a checkoff that comes out of every hour to LESIT out of their checks. So our members, the men and women of our organization, pay for that. And then that board is run and operated by labor management, where union signatory contractors and members of our organization run that board. So I went to them and said that we had that meeting that day. One of the costs that was easy for us to mitigate, but not easy to pay for because it's one of those unseen costs, it doesn't go towards the inside of the home, is the concrete and the rock and replacing the driveway, which is torn up, and the sidewalk. So what we had talked about that day was to do that internally with City of Springfield employees that are already on the payroll instead of bidding it out. And then the rest of that cost, we did an appropriation. It was $8,000 for all of the rock and the cost of the crete. I reached out to Lou Marcy that owns Capital Ready Mix. Lou's going to sell it to us for cost, which does not happen in today's market. And then we're going to pay for all of the concrete and pay for all the rock. So LESIT, and on tonight, I'm here to present the $8,000 check for LESIT to pay for all of the rock and all the cost of the concrete for that home. And I think that we're also in the preliminary steps of how we're going to coordinate people from higher education and other pre-apprenticeship programs to come with some of our journeymen, help pour that so they get on-the-job training. And then we take a house on Streeter and make it where you obviously sell it at a loss. But without these type of cooperation, it's just not possible to do residential. And so I appreciate you reaching out to us and giving us the opportunity. And it means a lot to our members. As you know, I'm also, not only do I run the local, I'm a director of LDRT, Labor's Disaster Response Team. Usually I come here and talk to you about those things. Luckily, the weather's beautiful. We haven't had that for a while. I hope it stays that way. But we're proud to be able to do this, and on behalf of my members, there it is, and thank you very much for allowing us to do this. Thank you very much. Thank you.
On behalf of the City Council here, I would just like to thank all the labor members who donate to this cause and that are helping with My First Home. Thank you all. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor, I had a quick question for Mr. Shivey, if I could.
Hey, Brad.
Brad.
Alderman Gregory said he wanted to ask you a question.
I got just two quick questions for you, my friend. So, we've been trying to get this demo thing together in our community. We got a lot of houses that we need to demo and things. Is there any way that you can also work with the operators to sort of form that old partnership where we had some of our apprentices or their apprentices helping demo those? And also, we've had a previous conversation about Jermaine Ward. I want to see him sort of help out on these things. And I know that's why I'm asking you, because unless you say yes, nothing moves. So I want to ask you as a man and
Hopefully that doesn't
and give you some respect in in this industry, and just know that by going through you, we can try to get some things. So I wanted to ask you as a man here.
Yeah, so when Ethan brought it up and the other directors brought it up, first person I called was Jermaine. And said, hey, this is a perfect example of why you were coming. And you know, a lot of individuals from the community are coming to me about Jermaine, including Memorial Hospital and other people saying, hey, this program, we want you to look at it. Jermaine's a member of mine. So we got a hold of Jermaine. Jermaine did bid. The problem with a residential contractor bidding something of this scope, the concrete, you take somebody who's used to doing the inside package and say, now I need you to demo all of that concrete, which means you got to haul it out, you got to finish it, report, and all that. They don't have those accounts set up with Capital Ready Mix. So this will allow Jermaine to do the internal while we help pay for the external and then donate the work. Absolutely. I will, when I get in the car, as you know, we had spoke previously about the operating engineers. We had talked about Billy Bishop, Ham's program of bringing people in to let them get some of that training. It's 100% doable, absolutely. And I think it just takes us to sit down. I know the operators, as you know, there's only 2 organizations that do Labor's Disaster Response Team, us and the operators. And they donate tens of thousands of dollars of equipment. So, yeah, I think that's 100%. And what we should do is try and set that meeting up immediately and how we get that done. Jermaine, when I spoke to Jermaine, and the reason that this needs to have this type of cooperation, because when you start talking about that concrete and that much level of work, it raises the cost of a bid because the ambiguity of what's that going to take me to get done. And so what we try to do is take that out of this. So Jermaine bids an inside package of $80,000 and he feels comfortable with that. And I think that's why it kind of drove us to that. And the fact is, if the administration wouldn't have had him come, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I wouldn't have known about it. So when they came and Ethan and Disco and Lesko said, hey, and here's where we're at and here's where the gap is, it was nothing but a phone call to get the money because, I mean, we build everything in this community. You know, our market share in this community is about 98%. So we're on everything. So what would it be if we can't help build a home, especially for a first-time home buyer? So we're proud to do it. And so you let me know, Alderman, you call me. I'll get a meeting with the operators. And, you know, we were doing that before.
Absolutely.
And it's easily done again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Alderman Gregory.
No problem.
Are you ready? Okay. The next item on the agenda is docket number 2024-031 for the property located at 802 Outer Park Drive. The petitioner is Aaron Doty. The present zoning classification is R2 Single Family and Duplex Residence District, Section 155.017. The requested zoning relief is vary Section 155.068, garages or accessory buildings of structures, to allow the construction of an open pergola to be 1 foot from the wall of the principal building instead of the 6 feet as required per code. The Springfield-Sangamon County Regional Planning Staff recommendation is approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation is that the City Council grant the petition as submitted. The Chair will now entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the voting will now be open. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, nay. And the motion passes with 10 voting yes, none voting no. The next item on the agenda is docket number 2024-033 for the property located at 242 South Dirksen Parkway. Petitioner is the Old Fashioned Inc. Present zoning classification is B1 Highway Business Service District, Section 155.033. The requested zoning relief is conditional permitted use pursuant to Section 155.033C7, conditional permitted uses in the B1 Highway Business Service District, and Section 155.200, taverns to allow a tavern. Springfield-Sangamon County Regional Planning Staff recommendation is approval for a tavern in tenant space 242 South Dirksen Parkway with the floor area not to exceed 1,400 square feet. Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation is approval of the recommendation of the Springfield-Sangamon County Regional Planning Commission. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as recommended by the commission.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to accept the recommendation of approval by the commission. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, voting will now be open. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no. And the motion passes with 10 voting yes, none voting no. The next item on the agenda is docket number 2024-034 for the property located at 2508 North Dirksen Parkway. The petitioner is the Old Fashioned Inc. Present zoning classification is S2 Community Shopping and Office District, Section 155.031. The requested zoning relief is conditional permitted use pursuant to Section 155.031C3, conditional permitted uses in the S2 Community Shopping and Office District, and Section 155.200 taverns to allow a tavern. The Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff recommendation is approval for a tavern in a tenant space 2508 North Dirksen Parkway with the floor area not to exceed 1,500 square feet. Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation is approval of the recommendation of the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning Commission. The chair will now entertain a motion.
Yes, Mayor, I make a motion to accept staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff recommendation. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the voting will now be open. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Sorry, didn't take.
And the motion passes with 10 voting yes, none voting no. The next item on the agenda is docket number 2024-035 for the property located at approximately 3100-3200 block of Mercantile Drive, tax ID number 21-14.0-200-040. The petitioner is Wabash Park LLC. The present zoning classification is B1 Highway Business Service District, Section 155.033, and I1 Light Industrial District, Section 155.040. The requested zoning relief is reclassification from B1 Highway Business Service District, Section 155.033, and I1 Light Industrial District, Section 155.040, to R5B General Residence and Office District, Section 155.021. A variance of Section 155.121, required off-street loading spaces, multifamily dwellings to allow 8 loading spaces instead of 19 loading spaces, and Section 155.133, size of loading spaces to allow the size of the off-street loading space to be 10 feet by 18 feet instead of 10 feet by 25 feet. The Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff recommendation is approval, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation is accept the recommendation of the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning Commission. The chair will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion we accept staff recommendation.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to accept staff recommendation of approval. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the voting will now be open. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no. The motion passes with 10 voting yes, none voting no. The next item on the agenda is docket number 2024-036.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to postpone the consideration of docket number 024-036 to the next zoning meeting, which is October 15th.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to move this item number 2024-036 to postpone to the October 15th zoning meeting. Any discussion from the council on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Alderman, it is moved to October 15th.
Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely, thank you. All good. The chair will now recognize Treasurer Redpath Fager for the presentation of the financial report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Treasurer's report for the corporate fund for the month of August. The beginning balance is $53,616,518. We took in total receipts of $12,836,577. Total disbursements of $17,313,894, which left the corporate fund ending balance as $49,139,201. The ending balance includes ending balance for ARPA money of $12,605,199. $168. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as submitted.
So we have a motion and a second to accept the treasurer's report as submitted. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. It passes. Thank you, Treasurer Redpath Fager. The chair will now recognize the Budget Director Metzger if anyone has any questions on the OBM contract report. Any questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. The chair will now entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the September 3rd, 2024 regular city council meeting and approve the minutes. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council first reading of ordinances into the record of this council meeting.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council reading of the consent agenda into the record of this council meeting.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The chair will entertain a motion to place the consent agenda on final passage.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All right, voting will now be open. Those in favor, please vote yes. Those opposed, please vote no. And the motion carries with 10 voting yes, none voting no. Agenda items 2024-178, 2024-239, 2024-331, and 2024-333 remain tabled or any committee. Is there any action on these items? None? I do have one person who signed up to speak on one of these tabled items. Do you want to? Okay. So Teresa Haley had signed up to speak on one of these tabled items, so I'm going to let Teresa come up and speak.
Mayor, just, sorry, point of clarification. I don't think anything was tabled. They're all just held in committee.
I think they're tabled or held in committee, either or. Yeah. Yes, ma'am, sorry.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members, for allowing me to speak. I live in Stratford Place subdivision here in Springfield, and yes, I am the real Teresa Haley, even though people have been impersonating me lately. But this is a serious matter, not only to me, but the people who live in my neighborhood, in which I've lived in for over 32 years as a homeowner. As a parent, as a grandparent, we are really concerned about these tiny homes, these tiny veteran homes. Last week, Alderman Sean Gregory and J. Love Harvey came and met with our neighborhood association. 99% of us were opposed to these tiny homes. There are still a lot of holes in our answers. We're not getting the answers that we're requesting. It was sold to us that these tiny homes would be permanent homes, that they will be owned by these veterans. But during our neighborhood association meeting, we found out these tiny homes will receive vouchers from the housing authority, which would have to be renewed every year. That sounds more like more public housing than permanent housing and people owning their homes. That's a concern for us because we don't want to see our property value go down. We work extremely, extremely hard to take pride in our community and pride in our neighborhood. When I moved in my house in 1992, I got it because of white flight. The people who owned the home were terrified that they were going to be putting Section 8 homes just a couple of blocks away. So they sold their home fairly cheap just to get out of that neighborhood. They loved that home and they moved out on Masonry Road and they ended up having mines subsiding and walls cracking, and they were like, what did we do? So 20-something, almost 30 years later, here we stand again. We are concerned. We are concerned about our safety, the safety of our neighborhood, the safety of our children and our grandchildren. There are a lot of people, including veterans, with mental health issues. And to add a community center is just another way to get IDA funding, and I know personally because people have contacted us wanting us to help them in other wards, such as Ward 3 with Popular Place. The only way they could get that additional funding for a community center was to make it go through HUD and to go through IDA. We are opposed to another community center of any kind over in the Stratford Place, the Adloff subdivision, and Taylor Avenue condos. I have a granddaughter, a great-grandchild, nieces and nephews who literally catch their school bus across the street from where these tiny homes are going to be. As a parent, a grandparent, and I'm concerned, and I'm sure you would be concerned as well. We have homeless people up and down the street every day, and it doesn't mean that they don't deserve a place to live. We want to ensure that when we're finding housing for them, that we're putting them in the best possible neighborhood. And our neighborhood is not that. My cousin Mike Williams spoke, and other folks spoke, just out of disbelief of what was going to happen with these tiny homes. There's no way you can build a tiny home for 500 square foot to 800 square foot and say you're selling it for $184,000 and the rest of our property tax is going to go up. I've talked to several realtors. That's near impossible. So I'm asking you all to reconsider. Would you want these tiny homeless veteran homes in your community? I would hope that you would vote no. I would ask that they move them to an open area that's safe and conducive for everyone. Stratford Place, Adloff Estates, and Taylor Avenue, the condos along there, we are opposed to it. So thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. Any questions?
I know we have one person signed up. Are you speaking on this, Alderwoman?
No, sorry, that was from earlier.
Okay, that's okay.
Mayor, I move to.
Sorry, Alderman Gregory, Alderman Redpath had signed up.
Haley, are you opposed to the houses themselves or the people that are going in? I thought that, maybe I misunderstand. I thought this ordinance was about the community center for the houses that are already approved. Is that right or wrong?
That is correct. So we're opposed to the community center and the houses themselves.
But the houses are already approved. Is that right?
You would have to ask our aldermen. We are opposed to it regardless if it's approved. We are asking that you consider looking for somewhere else.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Alderman Gregory.
So, Mayor, I just motion to table this, leave this in table status in committee.
Okay, absolutely. Any other alders? Thank you, Ms. Haley.
Real quick, can we,
Sorry.
so just so that, man, I really wanted to speak. Just so that we all know, so we voted on the houses
2021, I think it was. Is that right, Corporation
a
Council?
couple years ago?
That's right, on the zoning for the houses, that's right.
All right. All right, so that's done, right? So
That's just zoning.
even if the center doesn't go in, the houses can go in, we can't do anything about that. I'm just trying to.
I believe you can do something about
Corporation
it.
Council.
So that's the question I have, so.
Yeah, the houses are not being funded by the city. They received HUD funding for the houses. We approved the zoning so the houses could still go in at present with the funding source and the zoning that's currently there. The ordinance that's being held right now is a discussion of $400,000 from the city for a technology center on the property.
And we will be petitioning to HUD as well, protesting.
Thank you. Any other questions, Alderman Hanauer?
Oh, thank you.
Alderman Gregory, sorry, you still want to speak?
Yeah, I'm not going to really go into much discussion. I just think that this needs to be tabled for now. I've spoken on this. When we held it on my concerns, those concerns have not been, what's one of those fancy words, alleviated. I missed committee last week to go meet with the community, and they were very, very, very against this because it was sold to them as one thing, and it's not that. And in this conversation, so we'll go here. In this conversation, the issue is that we're wanting to take a population of people who have chronic issues, the people who Fifth Street Renaissance can't get in there, veterans, and put them over here. So we have not been shown any services, Memorial Medical Health. Nobody's come up here and presented and say, hey, we're going to be out here and we're going to be providing those services. And that is, as Ms. Haley has said, that is not putting people in the best situation. There's 4 unhoused veterans that are at Helping Hands. They're refusing the housing that they can go in right now. Fifth Street Renaissance is not at capacity at all. We are investing. I would rather see this money invested into the services that we have now. In the Casper report that we just received, it says nothing about Be Neighbors, Neighborhood Association. I asked for this group to go out and get petitions, and when I received them, we were told publicly twice, many times, that we had 300 petitions. That is not true. By far, it's not true. So, you know, I have concerns, and you know, I will say that I have a high respect for Mr. Hall. I've spoken on that before, and if any project that comes before me, especially from a black man, and I have any type of hesitation, then I ask that you respect me in my ward and you know, vote this down. I'm going to put it in table status. And if, you know, Mr. Hall can get with the neighborhood associations and we can really bring it together, then I'll bring it out. But we cannot put people who need services in a place where there is no services. It's a recipe for disaster, and we should not subject any community for that. That's like us saying, hey, we should put it out in Ward 9 on the 3-4 buildings that we're going to tear down that we will own. They're not going to like that out there either unless it's put together the proper way. Aaron, that's like saying, let's put it over at across from SHG. In those
Listen, we could fix those buildings up and put
I
houses
understand.
on there.
So we got an option.
I would push that ordinance
So we
through.
got an option. So
I would push that through.
You know, that's just where I'm at with this particular ordinance and this particular move. I'm a very straight up and front guy, and I just want people to be honest with me so I can make an honest decision. And those things have not happened. I hate even getting into this discussion because I do like Harvey and I do respect him and I know he respects me. But I have a job to do, and that's to listen to the community and the people of Ward 2. And I just ask that we do that because last week, you know, I was told that no matter what the community says, Ward 2 says, that we're going to vote for it regardless. And I think that's disrespectful to our community.
Absolutely.
Because I would never say that to y'all community, to anybody else's community. I vote how we need to go. Mm-hmm. The thing out where South and Chuck Redpath Ward, had I been here, I would have voted for it because that's what he wants to do. He has to answer to them constituents. So that's all I'm asking for in my ward. And you know, quite often, this ward gets pushed over, and we just got to do what everybody else wants. And I'm asking you guys, let's not do that. Let's follow the lead. I would never down a project as bad as we want to see developing in Ward 2 for just any other reason. So that's my spiel. Technically, in tabled motions that are second, there is no discussion. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a couple of alders have signed up, Julia, and then I can have you come up. Thank you, Alderman Gregory. Alderman Redpath?
Could we hear from Mr. Hall about the community center to see what it is? Is he here, please?
Well, we're waiting for him to come up, Mayor. Point of parliamentary procedure.
Yes,
I don't
Alderman
recall
Donovan.
this ordinance being read into the record. I didn't know we were going to be voting on anything with this ordinance.
I don't think we're voting. I think it's just discussion.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Need a motion for discussion then?
If we're going to go down this road, I think it'd be best to pull it out of committee for discussion and then put it back into committee. Because right now we're only in public comment, and rarely do we allow public comment on top of public comment.
But a point of order, if we pull it out of committee and Alderman makes a motion to table, then it automatically goes to the vote. Then we can't have the discussion with the developer. I mean, we heard from Ms. Haley. I respect her, but I want to hear from both sides before we decide to do anything with this. Everybody knows that a tabling vote is a death penalty for an ordinance. We know that. And if the alderman wants to hold it for another 30 days and try to work through these kind of things, I don't have a problem with that, but I'm not going to vote for a tabling motion.
Do you, Alderman Redpath, I know I had reached out to Ms. Haley and I had reached out to Alderman Gregory to ask if we could have like a meeting at the mayor's office to talk with Mr. Hall. Are you okay if we don't hear from Mr. Hall tonight and I try to go forward with that meeting?
As long
Would that be all right?
as the ordinance doesn't get tabled.
Well,
Right-
then we
right-
could stop discussion. I would
It's
just say
still
we're
in
going to have a
committee, so we
meeting.
can't act on it. Okay.
Right now, it's still in committee,
Okay,
so
then we don't
before
need to hear
getting
from
into this
Mr. Hall.
discussion, if it would stay in committee and it wouldn't come out, and there could not be a motion on it.
Yeah.
There'll be meetings on it.
So I think that, is that okay, Mr. Hall? I'm trying to coordinate a meeting with everyone. Would that be okay?
Yes, fine.
Okay. Alderman Gregory, are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that. I mean, I don't know if this will change the neighborhood's perspective and what they want,
Right.
And that's what most troubles me, is that
Understood.
that community has not been consulted, and then when we did consult them, they definitely, said no. And we went over a lot of options in that. So that's just where I'm at, but I'm always open to a
Talk to Ms.
conversation.
Haley today, and I'll get a hold of you again, and Mr. Hall will get a hold of you, and we'll get a meeting, and Julia Cave, I know, has your information from OPED. She's here to represent OPED tonight, so we'll just get everybody together at a meeting if you'd like, okay?
That sounds
I'll be
great.
reaching out through Julia. I know I have, thank you, Mr. Hall. I know I have a couple of other alders who signed up to just discuss
Thank you,
this.
Alderman.
Alderman Carlson, did you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you. Alderman Gregory, I appreciate our conversation today on this. I'm stepping back and just taking a big view of this. I mean, I assume tonight, we're going to have speakers probably for the third Tuesday in a row about the homeless situation and what we can do. And we know there are a lot of stats out there as far as how many homeless veterans there are.
Right.
To me, isn't this a one possible solution, a solution to help what we've been talking about for a month up here at City Council?
This development does not help that situation. That situation, so, because I'm a little versed in this, a one-bedroom person who's unhoused can get one right now, today, if they would like to go. It is the families where we are struggling. It is the families. So what we should be doing is investing our funds into people, into organizations like Inner City Mission, Washington Street Mission, Fifth Street Renaissance, who has held the flag for our veterans. They're going to have a camp out to raise money for unhoused veterans. There is not a large number of this. We have done a very, very good job of making sure that our veterans have housing. That's why the Fifth Street Renaissance is there. They do a good job with that. They could use some help. They could use some funding to do better with case management and things of that nature within their organization, as well as the Inner City Mission. They could probably use some funds to expand their living situations for families.
Are they building homes, or are they helping to build homes? I mean, to me, that's what.
I'm not sure as far as building homes, but these homes are for veterans. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's unhoused veterans, right? But we don't have that population. We don't have that population. So what's going to happen is SHA vouchers are for anybody who can get them. So what's going to happen is we can't find 18 veterans. Now we're just going to throw any and everybody in these homes, and that's not what we need to be doing. I have over 1,000 apartments out there. Lake Victoria, I know you heard of that. Bluebird, I know you heard of that. And we have worked extremely hard to really get that under control over there, right? And we've worked extremely hard with it. We got a new park coming. We've worked extremely hard in that area to bring it up to what's already there. Stratford Place, Glen Air. They're not the only neighborhood association. You have Glen Air right across the street. All homeowners, they should have say. They should have say in what comes. And so if we reverse this situation and we have communications with the neighborhood associations, if we have communication with people who live in the area, and say, hey, what would you like to see? Is this okay or not? So we've taken, Ward 2, we've taken our brunt. We've taken our brunt. On Jefferson, when we had Tent City, if anybody remembers that, that's in my ward. I had to deal with that. I had to take on Salvation Army and deal with that, which is actually in Keisha's ward. I had to deal with that with Pioneer Park and beg them to give us some time to figure things out until we finally closed it down and house people. And then When we build a new one, homeless shelter, guess where it goes? Ward 3. Now all his businesses are upset.
Nothing over there.
Actually, that's not true.
Not like these. Not like these.
I just
Not
think
like
it's one
these.
step down the right situation,
Right.
down the right path. And to
Right.
be honest with you, I've had a couple of constituents call and say, hey, we'll take it in Ward 7.
Well, go ahead.
Bring it on over.
Well, let's do it.
You got an option, Harvey.
You know, and
Thank
see,
you,
that's all we want is to be respected in our wards like we respect others in there. So I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Alderman Gregory, I still have you signed up to speak. Do you want to speak again?
No, I don't, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you, Mayor. I will just real quickly, I do want to point out, one of the most recent new supportive housing developments is actually in Ward 7. It's on Park Street. And I've reached out to, the people who are in there, they're not having issues. Alderman Carlson, I don't know if you don't get phone calls about that one.
They're two different situations.
I'm
And
sorry.
she knows it, man.
I'm just saying, it's another example of supportive housing. And I think, Alderman Gregory, to your point, the concept of having those supportive services on site is a critical part of the success of this development, this project on Park Street. So let me say my piece. I think what we're saying here is that the supportive services are a critical part of any sort of housing project that like this. To that end, Mayor, I know we did have someone from OPED, right? Julie, are you, okay. If we don't want to have a full discussion on this particular project, which I'm fine with, I would like to get at least information from OPED with a little more details around, what their analysis and review of the project. And I do think this just speaks to that bigger issue that we clearly need to have a joint conversation with the city of Springfield, with the continuum of care, with our frontline service providers, and have a coordinated, organized approach to where are our identified gaps, because we know we have them. We obviously do. And what are better, more productive ways for us to address them with everyone at the table. And that, to be fair, including the police department. We need to have everyone at this table. And Mayor, I would be happy to participate in a discussion like that as for City Council. This is an issue that has been very near and dear to my heart. And Alderman Gregory, I tell you, if I could get someone to buy those apartments on Washington, tear them down and put supportive housing in, I understand where you're coming from, but I would 110% support that. Because we've seen what successful supportive housing can do for a neighborhood. And those apartments on Park Street are beautiful.
This is totally different.
I know that, and but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about actually very much does relate to your issue, which I think, if I understand, is that there aren't supportive services as part of the business plan that we've seen thus far for that project. Well, the ordinance before us in your ward deals with, and I can't read, a resource center. So I understand your concerns around that. What I'm trying to say is that when we see successful projects that incorporate supportive services included with that housing first emphasis, we see success. And we want these projects to be successful. We want them to build our neighborhoods.
You might see success out there, but we don't see no success in Ward 2. What are you talking about? Have you seen our community?
Alderman.
What are you talking about? Hit me.
Alderman Gregory, if I can be clear here.
Gavel me.
What
are you talking about?
Can you let me finish?
Man.
What I'm talking about is
Talk
exactly
so
your
much.
concerns. You got upset with me about this, and I told you. I reached out to you and said, I've had more conversations. I'm here to support you holding this, and I was ready to do that. I thought we were clear on that because I reached out to you. My concern with the project in your ward is that exactly what you seem to be saying, which is there are no supportive services that are associated with the business plan that we've seen. So that would be something that I would like to see as you come back with a conversation. What I'm also pointing out is that when those supportive services are incorporated into a housing plan, as they were in Ward 7, that creates a successful housing project where people who are unhoused get safe, secure housing with someone there who understands where they're coming from. Alderman Gregory, I'm trying to support you right now and agree with you. So I'm sorry that that's not what you're hearing, and that's not the way my words are coming across, but that's very much what I like to see. When we provide funding for projects that house people, I want to see them be successful, because that's just someone who's housed now. And that stabilizes neighborhoods, and that area on Park, I've driven by it, it's still very nice, and that's what we should be aiming for in every neighborhood of this city. I'm trying to be supportive here. And that's it, Mayor, thank you. But I would like, I would like to follow up on establishing those conversations so that we can have a more informed and detailed approach and conversation to this.
I'm going to stay on track with this particular tabled.
Thank you. Held in committee, it's not
committee
tabled.
item, and I'm going to repeat that I will get a hold of all the stakeholders, and we'll have a meeting so that the people can get their questions answered, because it sounds like there was a lot of questions that need to be answered still, so we'll have that done. Thank you. Alderman Williams, did you want to speak on something?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So when you have your meeting with the stakeholders and whoever you invite, please make it clear that we don't need any more facilities in 2, 3, or 4. Amen. Anywhere east. There's 7 other areas, 7 other wards that this can go to. It's a 10-ward city, not just a 2 or 3 ward city. The latest was the shelter that we put out on the highway on Dirksen and disturbed a whole bunch of innocent businesses. It ain't that we're against the homeless. We have had our share. These people have made investments. And we always talk about respecting the citizens and the neighborhood associations. And we have yet to respect the east side, because we keep finagling and figuring ways to put it over there anyway. I'm dealing with 9th Street right now, and it is a success. What we got with they're not unhoused, but they're mentally challenged people. They got a nice facility now, they want a second one, but they're looking again in the area that they're already at, which is starting to make a little sense to me as far as cost and how to expand, and I may have to live with that. I'm willing to do that, but I think this side does its share. And I think it's time you as mayor lead the way to make them understand there's 7 other wards. There is 7 other wards on other sides of town that some of these facilities to go to. And it's not about being against the unhoused. It's about we have our share, we're doing our part as a city, and it's time for the rest to step up. For whoever's out there thinking I'm against the unhoused. I'm not. I work with them every day. I deal with them every day, because they're all in my ward. They're all in his ward. They're all, you guys like to say, me too, me too. Oh, it's all over the city. I say there's differences in what you're talking about, Alderwoman, that's all. And that's all he was reacting to. There are differences. We have the actual shelters. You may have some form of a supported living. Now we have a proposal for veterans. I'm a veteran. I want to see veterans' house, but is the population there? And then number 2, are we respecting the people that we're going to put it right up against the next to? We know how these things go. So they get in there, they're unhoused, they're veterans, but they're unhoused, and then they have company. Their company is usually their friends, more unhoused. So now we just created an environment where people have put in investments in their homes, who have fought Bluebird, who have fought all these different apartment complexes to maintain over the years and to keep something done. We don't have a lot of subdivisions that are nice. But when I start looking at Glen Eyre, and they had Loft Estates and some of these other ones over there, the few we got, we do want to take care of them, keep them. And it's time for you guys to step up. It's time for that continuum care to step up, and our department. Our department needs to stop it in its tracks and say, this is a whole city. This ain't just one side, and we can't keep going 11th Street over to Dirksen. We have to utilize the whole city to fix the problem. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Rockford?
Yeah, real quick, Mayor. You know, back in 2022, I guess we passed this ordinance for these tiny homes. And here we are two years later, and we want to push an ordinance through for a resource center when we have contacted nobody. I would think that you would go back and do some research back 2 years ago and get everything in order before we come and want to pass $400,000 ordinance for a resource center when we already passed for the housing, the tiny homes, you know, but we haven't even talked about any kind of, the medical staffing or the help that these veterans need, the homeless need, you know. So housing is going to be successful if we talk about it. We can't just push an ordinance through and put these people out in these neighborhoods and then what's next? What's next? We know what's going to happen. These people will be right back in the streets and you're going to get more and more people over there. So again, we want to push a $400,000 ordinance through for a resource center, but we haven't even talked about it. We don't have no staffing. We don't have anything. So again, I think there needs to be a whole lot more research. And I think before we even entertain the fact that we're going to give $400,000 to people, they got to come up with some kind of statistics or staffing or something for $400,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Rockford. All right, any other alders that need discussion on this? Okay. From there, we are going to anybody that has any unfinished business to bring before the council. Do I have anybody in the horseshoe with unfinished business?
Yes, Mayor.
Alderman
Please.
Williams.
I guess I'll ask the budget director, on these bonds and all this bond activity, can you explain that to me, why we are constantly, in particular the CWOP piece, that bond, you know, because I've been looking at the rates and trying to understand why are we even doing this?
So I have information that I received from the financial advisor today, and it is still preliminary because we have not yet sold
Can you
bonds.
speak up a little louder?
I don't know if your microphone's on.
It's green. Can you hear me?
There you go. Okay, closer.
I do have the summary of the refunding results that are preliminary and subject to change because we haven't yet sold the bonds. The debt service, every payment will be less with this refunding than what the current payment schedule is. The second and the third payments, which will be March 2026 and March 2027, are estimated to have $12.5 million in savings in each of those 2 years. Our estimated savings is $25 million, and the present value of that savings is $23.5 million. So that's why we're doing it, is to save money. I mean, when you refinance your mortgage, you are doing it generally to save money. We are, over the same period from March 1st through March 1st, 2040, we will save $25 million is the current estimate based on the rates today.
So comparing the interest rates to what we currently are in and what we will be obligating for in the future if we borrow, what's the difference in that interest rate?
Doug may have more than I do if he's still here, but the true interest rate cost, it's in the 3% range. I'm looking for it.
Because the way I'm reading it is higher.
Well, actually,
Or that we'll be locking, if we do this borrowing or bonding, we'll be locking CWMP to a higher rate than we currently have now.
So it has to do with with bonds, you have to look at the par value and the interest rate, right? So if your par value goes down, your interest rate's going to go up. If your par value goes up, your interest rates are going down. That, you can't get really stuck on that part of it. You got to look at what the savings are expected to be, what your debt service payments are, and the duration's not changing. They're still 2040. So we're not extending debt. We're not increasing our debt payments, and we are expected to have a savings of up to maybe like about 24 million. I'm thinking it could be a little bit less by the time the interest rates make some final adjustments in October. So the savings are there, and those are to be used towards a couple projects which we discussed in June, I believe, for the first ordinance that we had, to arrange like the bond counsel and the financial advisors and all that stuff and the underwriters. So that's kind of the backstory, I guess you might say, overall, is that the savings are there, and the debt service is not going up, so there is not an increase in debt service of payments that we're going to have.
So I mean, I'm the first to say I'm not an expert in this, or to confess that I really understand it all, but I do know the difference in high and low interest rates, and I hear you saying the savings, I don't know if that's a guaranteed savings.
Yes.
That would happen, but
Bonds are sold.
But I just noticed that, and not just with this particular bond, but just with the city as a whole and what we've been doing with our bonds, if it's making sense. Now, you, the staff, and you're the professional staff, and normally I defer to you, but I just felt like I needed to ask these questions and get you on record because I'm talking to other people. I'm listening to other citizens, constituents. And they ask me these things, and some of this is above my head. So I have to get you on record so when I talk with them, we can discuss it further.
And that's why we hired, Stifel as the financial advisor and J.P. Morgan as the underwriters for this.
Okay, well, I would hope some of these people come forward and speak with the mayor and you and others on this issue because I'm still not quite clear if we're doing a smart thing. But then I'm looking at it as a common citizen dealing with just interest rates, like dealing with a mortgage or something, So, like I said, I'm the first to admit a lot of this is above my pay grade. So thank you, Director, for
Thank you, Alderman.
giving me what you can.
Alderman Hanauer.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. As everybody knows, we've gone to Lake area on yard waste. We had a little snafu over in Ward 10. We had a neighborhood, or actually a couple of neighborhoods that were in the north zone that didn't get picked up. And I worked with Public Works with Christina over there, and I want to just thank her for working with us to get that done. And I think we're back on track. And so far, with the exception of that, it seems like everything went pretty smoothly and pretty happy about it. So thank you to Lake Area 2 that was able to get that done.
Awesome, thank you. Alderman Gregory.
Yes, just touch on the bond thing a little bit. I was a present vote on the city's portion of the bonds, and only because the rates and what we were doing came after that vote. And I just think for us that's, going to be here, Chuck, Ralph, and Jim, they're a long time, and they're going to be termed out. So we got to really understand what we're doing and make educated decisions. So I was a present vote on that because I didn't see the interest rates. On this one, it seems that the interest rates are a little higher. I can't, for the life of me, figure out, how we save money with a little bit of higher interest rate. And I guess I would ask that before we make big decisions like this, where we're going to be refinancing such large amounts of money, that we have a little bit of more discussion, because I know some of our experienced older people have a wealth of knowledge and been here and seen this thing go on. But some of us are trying to wrap our minds around bonds and how it works and things of that nature. And I think sometimes we have to slow those things down and make sure that, for me anyway, I want to make informed decisions. I want to be able to ask questions about it and give feedback for that. So my other business is I'm pleased to see everyone signed on to the ordinance for Massey Memorial Bridge. I do see her family out here. I'm very proud of that. And just with this, and I'll say the same thing that I said with this and our Black Lives Matter signs that we put up permanently, that we all signed on to. These things are more than symbolic. And if you really don't understand it, I don't want you to sign on to it. But, and I say that because as we move forward, there's going to be some things that me as a black man, me as the leader of this ward, that will always have a minority sitting here. That's just where we're at, right? We're under that consent decree. And in the past, we just can't be respected in these wards of what we want. We live here. We're here every day with the people. so we know what they want. And I can't accomplish those things if I'm always fighting with my other council members. Not saying that I do. We've done some good things, but it has always been a fight, and I don't want to fight. I'm going to make a good decision every time. If it's developing my community, I'm going to make those decisions to benefit the community and what I hear from them when I go to them, walk around every day. So these things are important to me. They're more than symbolic, and I really, really hope that as we close out this meeting, that we think about that, why we sign on to things like this, and if we really mean it, and if we really believe it. I can't explain it no more than what I have, and by setting an example. When I first came into office, I said my life and how I grow in this political game and where I come from, it's an example of our community and what it's like every day. And I just hope that we put some serious thought to that as we go forward, because I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna keep trying to get things done. I'm gonna keep trying to make lofty moves in our community, because I have to. I have to do things that's never been done before, and I need y'all support to do those things. We got to do things differently. We've done some good things, but this thing is slow and lethargic at best. We are going to lose an entire generation of people if we don't get this thing together on the east side. And that's my spiel, whether you believe it or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Gregory. Alderwoman Notriano.
Thank you, Mayor. So I, again, had a question about the bonds. I had emailed Ramona, and maybe, I don't remember seeing the reply. Maybe she could answer now, or maybe Doug could answer. But I remember in the past when we voted on bonds, we've seen like the whole schedule of payments and things like that. So I was wondering, is this a preliminary vote and then we'll see those details later?
Doug's coming up to the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule's been set, I guess, as far as like the bond payments of when they are going to be due. So
And
it's
the
still
amounts?
2040. The amounts are not set. Nothing's finalized
Well, that's what I'm
until
talking about, like,
until the things.
we would see,
But
like-
I guess to say, the debt service, actually, the amounts are set, I guess, technically. It's the savings that I don't know what they're going to be yet until the bonds are sold.
Oh, okay.
You have to wait till the market is. I mean, it's just like anything that's market-based, you have to wait till that things are sold.
Okay. And then another question I have, we saw recently the Fed lowered interest rates. Are we not thinking maybe it's a good idea for us to pause this and see where things go? It would be unfortunate for us to get locked in when rates are about to go down.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how the bond market reacts, of course. If the savings aren't there, then of course we're not going to proceed. But I'd advise not to pause, because I think if there's $20 million of savings there, we should capitalize on it.
But if it could be more, right?
Yeah, and it could go down again. I mean, it depends. It's based on the market.
Okay, so
There's
we
no
will
guarantees there.
Sure, absolutely. So we will see another ordinance with the schedules and the payment amounts?
No.
And, okay.
The approval's been
why-
done for the
why
sale
is
now.
that? Why are these bonds different? Help me out here, I'm new.
I'm not following why you.
So for Legacy Point, we funded some bonds, and we voted on these bonds, y'all remember? 3, 4 times maybe? We voted to get it started, and then we voted to approve something, and then we voted finally on the whole payment schedule out 10 years, which with each payment amount that we would be making on these bonds. So I'm asking, why are we not seeing that in this case?
Well, we can forward you what the payment schedule is for those bonds, what they expect it to be for sure, with the savings, what they expect that to be as well.
Corporation Counsel, do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
We get a bond transcript after they're sold.
Okay.
We don't know until the day that it's sold what the actual payments will be, because there's fluctuations every day. So if you remember the $25.6 million in bonds that we approved, and we just sold them, the day or two, I think it was 2 days before we sold them, was one of the worst days of the year in the stock market. That made the bond market go up. So when we sold them, we sold 4 times the amount of bonds we were issuing, so we got a good price. So that actually reflected the final schedule that you would see in the bond transcript. But that doesn't go with the ordinance, because we approved the sale before we can actually give you that full schedule. There's maximum rates in that, and I believe that the 25.6 also had a maximum rate of 6%. But I believe our effective rate when we went to sell, because of where the bond market was at, was a little over 3%, was in the 3% range. And so if we go to the bond market and it's at 5%, and our current bonds are at, and I don't know that number, but are at, say, 4%, we don't have to sell. So it depends on the bond market. So this is authorizing the sale of those bonds, but we don't have to go forward. And we do get on ratings calls, because the city's credit rating impacts what we can sell the bonds for. And then we also, we do have strategic calls with our outside advisors to say, this is a good time, this is not a good time. So if the Fed does make a move that hurts the bond market, we revisit it, and we do have the option to say, hold off on it.
Yeah. And I imagine the city's financial position is much better today than it was in 2015, I would hope.
Yeah, I don't know if that's public. No comment on that.
Okay, sure, absolutely, no worries. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Alderman Williams?
Yes, sir. Comments triggered another question for the budget director. So our dedicated sales tax money for infrastructure, are we needing to use that elsewhere?
On 95?
You're talking
So we have a dedicated sales tax that we have strictly for infrastructure, or do we not?
Yes, we do,
Okay.
and
So
that
that's
pays the bonds.
Okay, so,
95, which is the capital improvement.
but are we trying to use it to spend somewhere else besides for infrastructure? I guess is my question. So what are we doing with that money?
With the sales tax money, that is transferred in per code from the corporate fund. And then the dedicated sales tax, it pays that, it's a 0.5, is it 0.5? That pays the bonds for 2014, 2015, 2016 series, which is now the 2024, 2015, and 2016 series for infrastructure.
Okay, and that's so the GO bonds, is that the expiration for 2031? Maybe, I don't have it in.
Expiration, yes.
Okay, and so are we leaving it to whatever the council is then, or the mayor?
Of whether that, you're asking if there's going to be.
The future, I guess, mayor, or future city.
An expiration date?
Yeah.
Yes, there is an expiration date that is included in the official statements.
Thank you, I'll just have to look deep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Williams. Alderman Hanauer?
Yeah, and I believe, my poor memory, I think that at one time when we came on, that had expired. Chuck, what do you remember? I think that it had expired, and we expanded it to whatever the new date was. I think we've expanded it once, if not more.
So it was the 2031 date, probably?
It could have been, Alderman. I just know that I think either last council or the first council I was on, we were faced with the situation where it was expiring, and in order to keep it, and we do use, I think the money that we're getting out of it is usually through the video gaming. is where we get, where it goes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, video game.
And so, but to answer your question, yeah, we expanded that. So who's ever on the council in 2031, they get to make that decision at that point, whether they expand or
Well,
they.
and so that's why I asked the question, and Director, so is video gaming correct?
No, I don't
Isn't
believe
it?
it's video gaming. Video
What-
gaming doesn't pay for the video gaming's paying for the actual infrastructure work that's done, but not
Okay,
paying for
well,
the
maybe I'm
bonds.
staying
So,
corrected then.
Yeah.
All right.
There's infrastructure, it's two different things.
All right, I knew Fund 95 was,
Infrastructure.
there was some infrastructure on.
And then
right.
there's infrastructure bonds.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other unfinished business? Okay. For new business, anyone that has new business, I do want to let everyone know that on Saturday, October 5th, from 9 a.m. till 1:30 p.m. at Bunn Field, that's 1300 Division Street, formerly in Ward 3, but now in Ward 4, right? There will be a Build Springfield event, and representatives from all city agencies will be in attendance, as well as over 30 community partners with resources and information for the community near 1300 Division Street. There will be bounce houses, free haircuts, family-friendly activities, food provided for the neighborhood. So that's our Build event. I'll give a shameless shout out here. I see Jamie in the crowd, and I think you're going to have a bounce house there, right? Yes, ma'am. All right, so the Lucky Horseshoes will have a bounce house at the Build event that children can participate in. So thank you for that. Any other new business? All right. With that being said, we will go to citizens who signed up to speak. Is Alice Ramey? First citizen signed up is Alice Ramey.
Go, girl. First now.
Well, good evening, all of you shiny faces on the city council. I understand there's some that's got some things, but I got a problem. And it's a big problem. I have talked to a lot of people about it. I have a tree in my backyard that is poison, and we did not know it. It's been there for 35, almost 50 years. I have called every tree person in town. I even called the one that told me it was poison and came out to check it, and it is dying underneath inside the ground. And it's going this way. I wish it was going that way, but this way is my house. And I would like to have someone help me get it cut down if possible, because I have a little puppy that likes the backyard, and it is poison to both people, me and her. Also, there's another problem. We have a problem with people parking on the wrong side of the street, okay? I understand if you park on the east side street, you're supposed to face that way. If you park on the west side, you're supposed to park here. But if you park on this side, it's awful hard to see the stop sign. Okay, I don't know have you seen that? Okay.
Yes.
So it's very annoying, yes, okay? And everybody in the neighborhood asked him to move and park it on the other side of the street, and he won't do it. And he usually has his doors wide open on the side of the street, and you honk and he gets mad. So I'm bringing it to city council. And also the house that is still unaware, and the realtor cannot find anything about it. So I thought I might tell you that too, okay? And thank you all, and have a beautiful night.
Thank you, Alice.
Thanks.
The next person signed up to speak is Donald Hanrahan.
I actually signed up to speak about the bond ordinance, but y'all voted on it without letting me talk. So I know they're tricky. I get that. I'm math challenged. And I missed this because I was looking, when this came up, I was looking at $200,000 being spent for out-of-town council, and I missed this. Then I looked, $450 million in bonds for Dolman 4. That's a lot of money, $500 million to push through on an agenda without even discussing it, without a presentation, without an explanation to the public. The city refinanced these bonds back in 2015. Then, when they were issued, the mature date was March 1st, 2040, at a maximum interest rate that was 5.25%. The city never made the maximum payment required, or not required, but the cap on payments in that bond issuance, which was $42 million, but the average yearly payment through this year has been about $36.5 million. Over 9 or 10 years since that issuance, we've reduced the principal to what's owed today is $408 million. This new bond issue still has the same maturity date, March 1st, 2040. The max interest rate is higher. Instead of 5.25%, it's 6%. I understand that the interest you actually pay is based on when you issue the bonds and how much the interest rate is then, okay? But there's a max, and there's a risk. There is a risk that it will go to the max, 6%. Okay, so instead of paying off $408 million and getting whatever lower interest rate we can get to go to 2040, you've taken out $42 million more dollars. And again, here we are, no debate, no presentation. What's it for? I don't know. How can $450 million at 6% be paid back in the same time as $408 million at 5.25% and save $27 million? I'm not the only one confused. I heard what you said up here. I'm not an expert, and every time we propose to increase debt, it gets my attention. We're here arguing about things like $400,000. Well, this is $42 million, and we don't even talk about it? What's this extra money for? We just approved the budget in March that seemed all hunky-dory, and now we raised the city's side with another bond issuance. Now we got $42 million more here. Is it for good things like coal ash removal instead of cap in place? Is it for compliance with new effluent limitations, or is it for big lawsuits to fight them? For a remodeled beach house and a big party to celebrate? I don't know. For people to run off to Monaco or something? I don't know. The public needs to be told. It's $500 million. It should never have been on consent, and it should be part of a presentation that teaches it to people like me who are math challenged. It should be up on those boards. It should be on the CWLP website. Here's how we're doing this. Here's what we're doing with it. Now we can go vote on it. And again, why are we doing this without explaining things to the public? It's the same thing that I come here and say every time. Tell us also what assumptions are being made. I caution everybody here, Dolman 4, for nobody's fault but the people who built it and saddled us with this huge debt, is at considerable risk of becoming a stranded asset. It struggled to compete from day one. Last year, the capacity factor was only 35%. This year, it's a dismal 24% through June. That'll improve, we hope, but there it is. What assumptions have been made about that declining capacity factor and its ability to pay off the debt we're taking? And why on earth is this not subject to public input and debate? I come here like a broken record. It's opaqueness versus openness, obfuscation versus clarity. This should be part and parcel of an informed, independent, public, open, resource development planning that is overdue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person signed up to speak is Bob Emmel. Is Mr. Emmel here? Bob Emmel. Okay. Next person signed up to speak is You have Brianna Roberts, is that, okay, Brianna Roberts, making sure we're in the same order.
Every system of injustice depends on silence, paralysis, confusion, and cooperation of those it seeks to eliminate or control. This is a quote from Michelle Alexander in the book, The New Jim Crow. For a long time, Springfield's police and elected officials have benefited from this exact silence. But now, the people of Springfield are no longer confused or silent. The tragedy of Sonia Massey's murder has woken us all up, and we refuse to let injustice continue. First, I call for every charge against protesters to be immediately dropped. There is extensive video and eyewitness evidence showing that no protesters harmed any officers at any time. Pursuing these charges would not only waste time and money, but also send a message to Springfield that the elected officials in the police department seek to silence those who are speaking out. These threats will not silence us, it will only make us louder. If officers were using their body cam correctly at that protest, there should be clear footage showing that no officers was attacked by any protesters. Body cams are supposed to be for the protection of the officers and citizens, right? Well, why haven't we seen body cam footage from what happened at Mr. Euros? Why hasn't there been any release of the body cams after off-duty officer Michael Egan smashed into Chelsea Farley and Trevor Hopkins? Oh, sorry, my phone locked. And let's be honest, we wouldn't have seen the body cam footage from Sonia Massey's case as soon as we did if we weren't out protesting for it the way that we did. There was an ordinance that must have been passed last week when I was absent, 2024-365, regarding Axon's enterprise upgrades to body-worn cameras and evidence softwares. Axon Enterprise, for those who don't know, promotes this AI-generated reporting tool called Draft One, and it's a way to revolutionize police work by streamlining the task of reporting. Basically, it's an AI-generated report based off of body cam audio. Afterwards, they are allowed to edit it, but let's be for real. Are they actually going to take the time to look through a report that they didn't want to write in the first place? I don't think so. And for this ordinance to be passed really just echoes the sentiment that we're not trying to bridge the gap between human and human connection. We're just trying to make it easier for them and delegate their job to computers, to robots, something that doesn't even understand human interaction. While this sounds promising, we must also be cautious of the potential issues like AI errors and biases, which could distort important details in reports. It's critical that these technologies are transparent and reliable if we're actually going to sign it to be used in Springfield. How terrifying would it be to hand over police reporting to AI? How can we trust a computer to interpret human interactions? This isn't the solution that we need to rebuild the police force and our trust within them. We need officers of good faith, integrity, and commitment to accountability, not more automation. I also want to ask, why are officers so hesitant to speak out to community relations? Why does it seem like they are being threatened with termination if they show any support for change while on duty? It would ease so much tension if officers could just simply say, I don't like what's happening either, and I can assure you that we are actually working with the right people to make things better. Instead, they are held under a layer of control that distance them from the communities that they are supposed to serve. And why is it so difficult to engage with you all? Public comments are allowed, but when we ask direct questions, we don't get any answers. We can't even turn around and speak to the people that are behind us. Most of the people here at this table wouldn't even care to speak or hear our concerns if we weren't here. So when can we schedule a meeting to actually get real feedback from you guys? And finally, I want to publicly condemn Alderman Redpath and Haniher for walking out before public comments last week. You were given a seat at this table by us, the people that you are supposed to be representing, and you don't even give us the time of day to hear our public concerns. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Your silence and lack of empathy is duly noted, and I promise it will be used during voting season. And to those behind me, know that you are more powerful than they want you to believe. Keep rising up, keep speaking out, because we will not be silenced. We will not stop. Oh, and I bet you couldn't tell what part of my speech was AI generated.
The next person signed up to speak is Tabby Grigg. Is that who you have next, clerk? Okay.
Good.
You have Ms. Davis next, right?
Alderman Conley, I think, Alderman Carlson. It was you that said we're going to hear for the third Tuesday in a row about the unhoused. You're absolutely right, because what this city needs to realize is that we are tired of sitting there and doing nothing and going by what you guys vote on and what you guys all agree with, and we're not going to do it anymore. We're tired of injustice. We're tired of you not caring about the unhoused. We're tired of racism. We're tired. So now we're very loud, we're very vocal, and we're going to be everywhere that you are. Which brings me to you, Mayor Busher. The community event on October 5th, I can't help but notice Intricate Minds wasn't invited to that. When can we expect that invitation as a community resource? You can reach Tiara at tiara.intricateminds@gmail.com, and she can set it up so that we can be there. We would love to tell the community what we offer.
All the same things that y'all have going on at the event.
Speaking of the unhoused, I try to understand a lot of your concerns in your wards. Alderwoman Purchase, you said that you called them NIMBYs, not in my backyard, correct? So if every ward has the NIMBYs and they have to listen to them, where are we gonna put the unhoused? Because there's only one shelter in town that accepts both men and women, and that's Helping Hands, and they have a reduced capacity. They cannot possibly shelter all of the unhoused. The other shelters, Catholic Charities and Sojourn, are for women or women and children. And Sojourn is only for victims of domestic violence. So we don't have the space, and all of you have NIMBYs. So why can't we come up with something that, I understand you have to listen to your constituents, but we need a solution. And jailing them isn't the answer, and leaving them on the streets isn't the answer. We need an answer. So I need the aldermen and women to talk to their constituents and find a solution together, because Teresa Haley came up here and said she doesn't want it, which surprises me because of the other things that she has stood for. She doesn't want it. Ward 4, we have the Renaissance, Fifth Street Renaissance. They said, would you want this in your backyard? Yes, I'm in Ward 4. House them, shelter them. I know 2 and 3, you guys are inundated, but like they said, there are 7 other wards, and I know that the 2, Hanover and Redpath, you guys don't care about your city or your constituents because you don't think you need to talk to us or hear us. So I'm not even going to include them because they don't talk to anybody anyway. But I would like to see a solution where everybody comes together, and I would love to see that invitation to that community event. I know that Tiara and myself would love to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next person signed up to speak will be Oteria Davis. Hello.
Okay, has it started yet? Okay, I want to say, tell you a quick little bit about me. I'm retired from the Secretary of State, 33 years. Now I work for Addis Home Care. My name is Oteria Davis. Since 2018, I have been stalked, harassed, followed by the community, Springfield police, sheriff, officers in a black SUVs. Sometimes I have to take a family member with me when I go places. I have plate numbers, I have videos, I have pictures because they do the same thing to me, harassing me. I have a sister who has cancer, and I go see her, and I had an officer that was just sitting there watching us, you know, I don't know what for, but she told me about it, so I'm just mentioning it. I just want this on record today. This has been going on for a long time, and my family, matter of fact, some of my family is here. I didn't know they were going to be here. I am concerned about my safety. I do have some medical problems. I have bipolar, and I have someone who's here with me from mental health. I don't bother anybody. I don't pick with anybody. I do go to work. Sometimes when I get off work, they're sitting there, and then they'll go forward or move their car. I even recently had an officer hit me, hit my vehicle, right behind me. I was at a stop, and he hit my vehicle. I'm not going to say it was done on purpose, but I just wanted you to know that this is going on. And another thing is I did vote for you. Voting is very important to me. That's really all I have to say. And hopefully that, I don't know if anything can be done about it, but at least I have it on record. And, you know, I just want things to get better. I am doing good. I'm doing okay. But I just, you know, these are white people, black people, Indians, all kind of people are harassing me. I don't know what for. Well, I kind of know what for. It started from my job. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I just wish it could stop. It probably won't, but I'm just going to keep note of it. My family knows what's going on just in case if something happens to me. So, anybody have any questions?
Whose ward you live in?
I'm sorry?
Where you live?
I live in Springfield, Illinois.
Do you know what ward you live in?
I don't. I know it's on Ash Street.
All right.
It's on Ash, but I am getting my own place. My caseworker is going to help me get my own place, get me an apartment, and I hope I don't have any problems when I get my apartment, picking, harassing me. It's called community gang stalking. You can look it up on YouTube. That's what's going on here. And I'm sure some of y'all probably have stalked me and harassed me and followed me. I even had a senator with a Cadillac truck harass me. I got a picture of his vehicle. So I just hope that this stops. It doesn't make sense. I believe some people are racist here on both ends, blacks, whites, on both ends. But I am not racist. I love people. I love older people, and that's who I work for, Addis. That's who I work for, Addis. And, you know, I take care of older people because I'm retired from the Secretary of State. That wasn't an easy job, but I did it. I have disabilities too, but I did do it. So that's it.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Davis.
Thank you so
Yep.
much.
The next person signed up to speak is Jenna Broom.
I was going to say there wasn't going to be any shaming, but I think Bree took care of that, so good job, Bree. I actually am here to say thank you for removing the ordinance. I think it is important to acknowledge when government does things and listens to people, and so I wanted to thank especially the mayor and Alderwoman Purchase for removing that. That was important, and it needs to be acknowledged. And now that we have your attention, and we've shown that this body can take initiative, I think there's some things that we need to address. So I would like to talk about the culture of the Springfield Police Department. My friend Ken last week talked a lot about history, right? And we've heard a lot about this long-term history of issues in the Springfield Police Department. But I want to go to something more recent, and I'm not talking specifically about the accident with Sergeant Egan, but the decisions leading up to that accident, right? right? So it was a known celebration, right? They're going out celebrating a retirement, and the choice that they made of celebration was not to rent a party bus or get Ubers or any of these things. There was a conscious choice for multiple individuals to engage in bar hopping and driving around the lake roads, which I don't know if anybody else does this for fun, not exactly the easiest to navigate when you're sober, right? So again, that's a choice that most of us would probably try to choose again. I will admit to having DUIs. I'm a recovering alcoholic, right? I've made poor choices in my past. The difference is I don't have the privilege of, or I guess whatever, duty of arresting people that commit crimes. So again, this is a culture of, and I know that Chief Scarlett said this and he doesn't think there's a dual standard, but that dual standard is there, right? That the expectation of a group of people, including a sergeant, somebody very advanced, they just all decide that the greatest idea they have is to go drunk driving around the lake. That is a culture problem. And I sincerely doubt he was the first to celebrate his retirement that way, okay? Again, we move just a little bit more forward in time to the same evening. Again, the reactions of the people around, whether they were police or friendly with, it was clearly expected that the standards were not the same. The man was so drunk he couldn't close the door attached to his car. Like, that's bad, right? And I know several of us have been there. I can say I have, but I mean, it's just egregious, right? And when I got my DUI, and I know people have said it, I got cuffed and put in the back of a car because that's how it's supposed to happen. So again, this is a culture problem, right? We are looking at a culture, and this is not just the Springfield Police Department, but we're going to speak on this specifically now. These are indicative of we don't subscribe to the same rules that other people do. We are above this. I also want to talk about what happened on the 9th, specifically with Tiara. My friend Tabby brought her Constitution last week, and I was like, girl, you inspired me. So I also brought my Constitution this week. This was actually purchased at the U.S. Capitol last year. And, you know, we talk a lot about these amendments, including the First Amendment. And that First Amendment, it's number one for a reason, because it's the most important. And I thought we could all use a little gentle reminder of what that amendment actually says. Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That is what happened on the 9th, and the response to that was violence and militant reaction. The response, police response to the threatening of people's rights, whether they are unhoused or they are speaking on behalf of others, is one of fear of these people and of what they are doing, and not of protecting their rights, which is what they are supposed to do. It's a military reaction. The military and the cops are two completely different things. I'm not sure if we're all aware. Okay. Tiara was targeted, and if you watch any of the videos, please do not try to tell me that she was not otherwise. That woman was targeted, grabbed out of a crowd on purpose, and dragged by her hair on purpose because they're scared of what she's doing, and she's doing good things. And again, we've shown that this body can take initiative. And so I am asking this body to do a couple of things: an immediate investigation of the Springfield Police Department, a freeze in any increase in their budget until that is completed, the immediate release of the body cameras showing the incident with Chelsea Farley and Trevor Hopkins, the incident with Carrington James, as well as the protest. Suspension of the officers who brutalized the protesters, dropping all charges against Tiara Standage, Brandon Dorr, and anyone else involved with the protest, and immediate training on protests and the rights of people who protest, de-escalation, and what the First Amendment means. And then I wanted to acknowledge someone that I think the city should work with. They were brought up during the Massey Commission meeting last night. They've been brought up several times by people smarter than me. Her name is Tracy Mears. We should all know that name. She is part of Yale Law School. She is a leader in criminal justice and working with policing. She was also denied being valedictorian when she graduated from Springfield in 1984. This is a woman that we need to work with and communicate with. We need to make some changes, some cultural changes, and I think that's a great first step. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Wu. person signed up to speak is Diana Rubio. Is Diana here? No. The next person signed up to speak is Reggie Guyton.
Honorable Horseshoe, I refrain from calling you a stable. I do have a sense of humor, but I think people have taken offense to being called barnyard animals, and I do not want that to, I have 5 minutes, so I might as well get started. I'd like to start with the general quality of life for night owls / professions revolving around the evening and the user remaining time to ask for accountability and transparency. Again, as a multidisciplinary artist, I find myself at the intersection of many places and interacting with so many people. Time and time again, there's frustration from both locals and tourists about the options available for food, nightlife, and transportation. Downtown and East Side businesses are trying so hard to be successful, and with less funds generated / received for downtown festivals, notably 4th of July fireworks, Blues and Barbecue Fest, to name a couple, they are having a harder time working to generate interest in downtown and the East Side. And I would like to say the East Side has a harder time. There's a vibrant arts community that was welcomed and encouraged to collaborate with other businesses and bars. It is now hard for working artists and creative professionals to find businesses that can afford to pay them in these spaces. Why is that? The cause is more varied than you think. Just last week, an officer had the ability to turn himself in quietly 4 days after an incident where he was driving under the influence. We could spend time hammering down what this incident has told citizens who have received the same charge, local youth who have been deemed troublemakers and outsiders, and citizens of Springfield at large, but for now I'd rather talk about the circumstances that have been allowed. SMTD schedule currently is 6 to 10 for night service. SMTD regular access or community access for those who are disabled and have different needs, that ends at 6 p.m. SMTD only runs once an hour on Saturday and not at all on Sunday. SMTD has received upgraded hybrid buses, a move that will certainly save our transit department and is really nice, honestly. It is my hope that with extra money saved that we could expand our bus service to continue on the weekends and nights. If we expand our service in the evenings, I'm sure that we would be doing the helpful work of reducing alcohol-related accidents, creating transportation options for employees all around the city for every type of field, and we boost people's ability to participate in local events and entertainment. Perhaps that would also allow us to have more food options beyond 9 o'clock. Perhaps then we could finally get more interest in having an actual concert venue for medium to larger touring acts. I leave this to y'all to speculate about. Some may figure and argue that there was low ridership for Sundays and later evenings, and that's why it was discontinued. I would counter that by saying with new and improved bus transit system, we should be able to continue the service regardless of profit, as the true goal of improved quality of life for all Springfield citizens. It should not matter whether the services are utilized at full capacity or by those who have the extra income to make it worth it. I do want to take the time to ask, 135, okay. I do want to take the time to ask the SPD and the administration of Springfield City Hall and Council to consider how they have failed the public over the last 2 to 3 months. In the past few months, we have had attacks on the poor, the disabled, the mentally ill, and even those who choose to exercise their First Amendment rights. Most of these instances could have been alleviated with proper communication, a solution-oriented mindset, an open mind, emotional intelligence, and empathy. Instead, at large and at best, these opportunities have been treated as issues, leaving room for aggression, smoke and mirrors deflection, and a plethora of local residents having strong feelings and opinions about the elected officials representing us. We talk often about how this capital is the land of Lincoln, yet continually show that we have outdated ideas about what malice towards none and justice for all looks like. It is beyond time for this Central Illinois to update its mode of operation. I strongly urge that SPD drop the charges of all protesters that still remain and continue to keep the lines of communication open so that community healing can occur. Additionally, Chief Scarlett, I think you should prepare for questions about how citizens can take a more active role in protecting their neighborhood safely. Many people want to avoid calling officers at all because of the distrust bred by local law enforcement. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
The next person signed up to speak is Aaron Bird.
My name is Aaron Bird. I live in Ward 6. I wasn't able to make it to last week's meeting, but I was quickly informed that Alderman Redpath and Annauer did not stick around to hear out the people that they are meant to be representing. Frankly, I do not care how emotionally unregulated you are, and I do not care how upset you may be. If you are given the responsibility to represent a group of peoples and make decisions on behalf of those people, regardless of what section you may represent, you should have the strength and the audacity to sit there and listen to them and hear what they have to say. Otherwise, you do not respect democracy. Piggybacking off of that, we had already seen last week, as well as any other protest, that SPD alone did not have the audacity to speak to the people that they are meant to serve and protect when we are feeling the least served and protected. Along with that, I am tired of coming here and listening about these meetings just to hear that another bandage has been put on an issue that we are having here in the city. I'm tired of hearing that bandages put into place are for the responsibility of our officers. If you want to complain about how these officers have no free time, the fact that these officers are overworked and that they are not getting paid enough for the work that they do, then why are you putting them on more projects and giving them more responsibilities? You want to give more responsibilities to the police officers because you know that they will criminalize anybody that they get the chance to who does not follow the agenda. Given that, any issues that come up should have nothing to do with SPD because clearly they do not care enough about the people to treat them with respect or to have the public safety in mind. I've had the opportunity to experience how SPD responds to situations that may be emotionally driven or out of hand. And, which to note, Springfield citizens have never escalated situations. And out of fear, these police officers have responded with violence. I witnessed Tiara Standage be strangled, falsely accused of assault, and arrested. I watched others, including someone with walking assistance, be pushed and shoved into with riot shields. I myself was body slammed to the concrete, all for standing our ground. I will say I respect Chief Scarlett for taking responsibility on behalf of what happened last week, but it does not erase the fact that officers of offense against our citizens expressing their rights have yet to be held responsible. Allegedly, one even took Michael Egan straight to the bar last Tuesday. The only public announcement taking any accountability that was made here at the city council meeting, and unfortunately, a very small percentage of our city sees these. Is that what you want your city to be representing? Is that what you want your state capital to be, your home, police ran, and by many officers who have shown they only intend to protect and serve themselves? Why are the police the best option to deal with all these issues? Why is criminalization the best option? And why has no one else spoken on this? But thoughts and prayers. I hope you realize the more you dismiss issues, the angrier we will be, the more fed up we're going to get, and the more we will show up to these meetings just for you to be upset by the faces of all of us, just by being here to speak our truth. But guess what? No matter how mad you get, we will be here until the bitter end. We refuse to let anything get swept under the rug. We refuse to let the people who are meant to protect us get away with things, and refuse to sit there and just be fed, for the lack of a better term, bullshit solutions. Springfield, Illinois citizens will not go down without a fight, and I hope you hear and know that. We want real answers and real resolutions, and if you continue to sit there in front of your people just to jump through loopholes or do nothing, you do not deserve the position you hold. Lastly, I want to remind you that we live in a world of the digital footprint, so be careful about what you say and do. We will have it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. The next person signed up to speak is Ken Pacha. Still Pacha.
Thanks, everybody.
Still Pacha.
The whole city knows it now.
Still Pacha.
So I talked about a lot of stuff last week, and I'm sure everybody remembers it, at least the people that were here.
Now, the thing is when you get elected, you don't have to like how your constituents interact with you, how they talk to you, how they make you feel. You chose this position. You asked us to vote you in, and now here you are. I'm not going to tell you. You guys might have had some busier. I didn't ask you. I haven't talked to you. But I assume since both of you left, can't have been that busy since everybody else stayed, including even Misty, who wasn't even present in terms of like voting or anything. So, I mean, it's just basic respect. So I just wanted to cover that real quick because I try and give you guys that same respect. I show up, I listen to you, I watch your meetings, I follow you guys on Facebook. I try and keep track of that stuff because democracy is important to me. And if you feel upset by what you saw on those PD steps, I encourage you strongly to look up the definition of civil disobedience. It's a hallmark of protesting in this country. We have every right to upset you. We have every right to yell at you. You don't have to like it. I have every right to climb up on those steps, hop up, and start screaming as loud as I want. You can tell me to leave. You might even arrest me for causing a disturbance, but that is how democracy works. Do you think they managed to change things back in the 60s and 70s peacefully? Do you remember the folks that told everyone to stand down, just wait patiently, stand to the side while the powers that be think about you eventually? Do we know what happens with trickle-down economics? What actually trickles down? Anybody? Take a guess. That's how it feels when you tell me to stand to the side and wait when the solutions that are provided to me are a violent police force that rarely, if ever, engages with its citizens honestly. Because quite frankly, I'm still hearing whispers of people being charged for those protests. For what? What happened besides the police showing up with riot shields to attack its citizens who were engaging again in civil disobedience? If they had any semblance of history, recognition of what it means when your community is that upset, maybe they would have tolerated it a little better, but so far their only approach is a hammer, and we're all nails. Now, you as a city council, the part that confuses me is the only thing, and this isn't an attack on any of you, I want you to note that, but there's only one thing on here you all agreed on. One thing where all of your names are on it, and you damn well know what it is, because half of you only jumped on after Sean put it up. That's disgusting. Absolutely. And I don't know who actually means it because I don't know what's in your heart. But I'll tell you right now, I know who sponsored it and I know who jumped on after the fact when it looked good for PR. That is horrific because you know what looks good for PR? Because our Massey Commission talk ended up on WBZ in Chicago. It was on the radio station in New York. And I promise you that we will get you guys there if you don't get it together. Using the police to attack the unhoused is vicious and vile. I don't care what they're up to because they are not a hot potato. They are not children who need minders. They are adults who are suffering. And if suffering doesn't touch you in some way, check your pulse because you may not be here with the rest of us like you think you are. Because quite frankly, these problems have existed for decades, and now they lie in your hands and ours. And there are solutions out there by giant groups of people that have done them in bigger areas with more problems, with tougher neighborhoods. And they solve those problems, and there's blueprints out there. I can look them up right now, and the sad part is so can you. Now, talking about looking things up, and this isn't meant to pick on you, but you guys passed a huge amount of money, right? No talk about it openly for us, or even yourselves. You had to be informed by our own corporation council about kind of what had just occurred. That's not a crack on you, but that's really screwed up that we spend an hour on elevator funding for a community resource that everyone in here, if you haven't been, I strongly encourage you to go to Hoogland and see the incredible amount of people from this very community that rely on that. An hour. How many millions of dollars just walked out the door in seconds that we didn't even debate openly, that we didn't talk about? That's the kind of thing that angers the people out here. And while you guys just got a pretty clear election and you got a few years, we're not going anywhere. And that's not a threat. It's meant to keep you noted on the fact that we're engaged, we're upset, and we're really pissed off. And you should never underestimate the power of large groups of people who are not only upset, but informed. Because quite frankly, if anybody here, and I surely hope you did, paid attention to the Massey Commission that happened last night, we didn't take it easy on them either. So I recommend it that you guys maybe take a little more time, because we're eager. We would love to meet with you, Chuck. We'd love to meet with you, Ralph, Jim, Aaron, Brad, Jennifer, all of you, Lakeisha, Larry, Roy, didn't want to leave you out, Misty. But that's the thing, guys. We're here. And it seems like a lot of these decisions are happening without us. Not just us, but you too. You know what I mean? Like, some of these decisions don't even really seem like they're there for you to really know about. So if that's what's happening, that's not democracy. That's ruling by fiat. That's making decisions that don't actually have any basis other than feelings. Is that how we run a city? That's it. I mean, I want you guys to think about that, though. Because when when we make those decisions, ask yourselves, who are you talking to? Are we talking to lobbyists, reps, unions, people that are funding our re-election campaigns? Are we actually out here? Because the sad part is when we get out and find out things, we find out that 2-year-old zoning efforts we passed, the neighborhood doesn't want it. And now we're talking about $400,000 for a neighborhood that doesn't want to support literally the simplest solution to the unhoused, which is housing. I mean, right, really?
Time, man.
I got you. But how much money are we going to give to, like, shelters and that when we could just give them to houses, guys? I mean, come on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's the way it goes. Strand.
The next person signed up to speak is Mr. Robert Williams.
No,
I'd like to talk. I'd like to greet everybody. My name is Robert Williams, and the topic of discussion I have has been, first we're going to touch on my incarceration. I've been incarcerated 25 years, and when I was incarcerated, I was seen by the top doctor of IDOC in Illinois, and his name was Dr. Tim Waller. This man spent 6 hours and 30 minutes discussing my issues, my mental. And as we was discussing my mental, when we was finished, he said he never in his life sat down and talked to a person for 6 hours and 30 minutes. Well, during that course of my life, I was raped by my sister and her friends, which I'm not going to go into. And I was diagnosed with PTSD, paranoid schizophrenia, bipolar, blah, blah, blah. Now, as I was saying, this doctor diagnosed me, and I have not received any help for mental health since I've been out here, and that's been over a year. And this lady who's sitting here right now was the one who threw me under the bus because I was being honest. And she know what I'm talking about. When I got out of prison, I was sent to Helping Hand. I went to talk to this woman, and I told her about my issue. She goes straight to Ron and tell her, hey, this man is a sex offender. I said, lady, look up my case. I ain't raped no kid. I ain't raped no woman. And it's Adam and Eve and not Adam and Steve. So let's get this shit straight. Now, as I was saying, since I've been out, I have not received any help from anybody. Now, I'm homeless, and you all talking about helping the homeless. Well, damn, give me a job. Help me. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to help my motherfucking self. I done put in, excuse my French, I done put in application, resumes, and everything. And I had friends do them too. Sharon Bourne, which you know, Mayor. So I'm going to go to another issue. Jobs, like I was saying, I need a job. I will work. I have no problem with that. I'm 63 years old. But what I do have a problem is with bullies, people messing with homeless, the elders disrespecting them, putting their hands on them. You know, I done put my life at risk since I've been out here numerous times. You can ask the police department. You can ask the people out here that live out here. You know what I'm saying? I used to be in the gang. I'm not no more. But I'm a man before I'm anything. And my mother, my grandmother, and my father raised me to respect my elders. Now, when I was coming up, if you laid there and messed up and your neighbor saw it, he or she had the right to whoop your ass. And then your mother or father, when you get home, gonna whoop your ass again. This is what's not being done out here. Y'all done took that right away from everybody. You know, DCFS. Now you got kids talking about, if you touch me, I'm calling DCFS, and I'm going to have your ass arrested. This is what they saying to their parents. Now, I'm laying here asking y'all, I have a bank account. It's only I owe $51, but I'm asking for a donation so I can get the F off the street. I don't like the street, and I know the people that's out there don't like the street. They just out there because you know what? Y'all keep putting them out there. Y'all give them a place to stay, and as soon as they F up, you put them back out on the street. Why? Why don't you change the law? Why don't you change, like you get the feds, federal funding, if their house get messed up, the government take care of it. Why can't you do that for the state? Instead of having them laying there going to court, why don't you just make it a federal issue and stop, you know, y'all spending all this money recklessly, and what you ain't spending is going in your pocket. For vacation, you name it, that's what y'all doing with it. Please bear with me one moment. Yeah, I have a friend named Brian who died right here for hypothermia last year. And what I don't understand about mental health is that they didn't do a damn thing about it. Police didn't do nothing about it. And they all knew this man walking around smelling like shit and piss. Now, where do he have the authority? Now, somebody said I had the authority. I ain't gonna put him on the bus because they cool with me. But they said I had the authority to have the man committed. Hell no. I reported it because I liked the dude and he was cool and I cared about him. But ain't nobody did nothing. And this man shouldn't have never died.
Mr. Williams, I need you to wrap up, please. Thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
Well, can I say this? And I'm gone. Mayor. Oh, yeah. This is a kid. If President Trump wins this election, everybody should be let out of prison.
Thank you, sir. Is there a Diana Rubio in the audience? Did she come tonight? No. And then what about Janice Davis? These are the people that signed up to speak in advance. No? Okay. That's everyone then. That's all we had signed up to speak, yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn in a second.
Oh, now you don't want to hear?
Can I say something? Real quick, real fast.
I had signed up to speak last week. My name is Paige Mathis. I unfortunately was not able to make it due to medical issues.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to let
This is
Tamika come up. Then you can come up, ma'am. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Paige.
Paige, and then you can come after them, ma'am.
Hello, everybody. I'm gonna make this short. I'm gonna let them speak too. I'm not gonna talk about nothing else over here, but I'm gonna say one thing. Missy, I voted for you. I asked you to open up a job for advocate for Springfield. What I mean by that is, if y'all can sit up there and open budgets to give money to everybody else, why won't y'all open a budget and start an advocate job for the states? What I mean is, if you do an advocate, it would not be nobody get hurt. It would be a private, what's the one I'm looking for?
Institution?
Right, because they be professional hired, and therefore, nobody get hurt. They will speak for the people. Please consider this again, to open up 30 jobs, you know what I'm saying, for people to be advocates for the city. And their only body can speak. And they will not have all these peoples in every zone come out here and speak and get in trouble with the law. That would stop that. If you got something to speak on that, go on to speak. If you got something to speak on it, go on to speak.
Thank you, Tamika.
Okay, last thing I want to say, since she gave me her time, is that it's
We're
really
not allowed to give our time away like that.
Oh, but you did last week. You all pick and choose what rules you want to enforce every other week. Can we rewrite the rules?
So it does depend upon who the chairperson is of the meeting. I think Alderman Rockford was the chairperson last time. So did you allow people to give their time away, Alderman Rockford?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So who's the chairperson right now?
The chairperson's the mayor.
I'm the chairperson now.
Okay, I didn't want to speak to y'all again anyways. I said my piece last time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamika. Paige? And I'm sorry, what was your last name again, Paige?
Mathis.
Paige Mathis. Thank you, ma'am.
I moved to Springfield a month ago, and within that month, the police department has run rampant with unaccountability. And then on top of that, to come into council and hear that we're spending over 10% of our budget on surveillance equipment, that is not guaranteed to make our community safer. It's not guaranteed to do that. It uses AI-generated reports. We all sit up here and talk about how bad AI is for school, for the education of our community, for the education of our youth, and yet we're okay implementing it in the criminal court system where things have to be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. And yet we won't hold our officers accountable when they're drunk driving, even though there are things that will prove them accountable beyond the shadow of a doubt. Breathalyzing him at the scene would have proven him accountable beyond the shadow of a doubt. Sonia Massey's body cam proves Sean Grayson guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt, no matter what the courts want to say. The same problem lies with the unhoused and the veterans community. You want to sit up here and talk about we don't have the funding for them, we don't have the money. $6 million was spent on this equipment for the next 5 years. Don't tell me you don't have the money. You just walked out $50 million. Don't tell me you don't have the money. We're receiving allegedly $23 million in savings from bonds, which fluctuate based on the market rate at which time they are sold. You needed that. We have the money. Put it in the right places. You have Tiara Standage here who's doing intricate mines work. She would love $23 million to be able to help the homeless since you don't want to. You are proving that you don't want to. Memorial Health, I'm sure, would love a bid to build a new center out where they're saying we don't have centers. I was unable to get health care until yesterday. I had to wait a week after being brutalized by the police to go get health care. And when I went to go get health care, they didn't address the concerns I had. They refused to concussion test me. They did not order an MRI for me after I specifically asked, and I waited 3 hours in line at Memorial Healthcare. They could use another facility with more employees, more jobs, more money in our community, and that would alleviate your issue here. Why are we not doing this ourselves? Why do we have to bring these to you? Why do we have to provide you the solutions? They voted you in here. I didn't. I moved here a month ago, but I can see the same issues that were in St. Louis. I come from St. Louis, so I'm not going to play this game. I'm talking to you straight. We do it different. And you're going to do it different here too. Because I didn't come up here to help my community to get my shoulder dislocated by a police shield for standing up to hold them accountable. The fact that that happened is ridiculous. The fact that it's the second time that police have dislocated my shoulder is ridiculous. This is a systemic issue. and you are participating in it. We know what's going on. You don't want to create the jobs that will help the community. You want to divide them. You're playing into bigotry by saying that you want to hear your community out when your community's concerns are that they are going to have mentally disabled people or veterans in their community. So help your veterans in your community. Do that. Address those concerns if you want to say that. Don't sit here twiddling our thumbs for 3 weeks asking what we're going to be doing about it when you can start. You can start doing something about it. You ask why they don't want help from your police department when in the last 6 weeks they've killed people for existing on the street, and you tried to criminalize homelessness. Don't play that game. We know why they don't want your help. They don't want your help because when they walk up, they get a gun in their face or their blood drawn after they've been hit by a car. They don't want that kind of help. They don't want to be institutionalized by the police because they know what that leads to. Slavery is still constitutional under the 14th Amendment. They know what that is, and they don't want that. They want to be in communities. Stop othering them. They are people with health concerns, and especially after they've been screwed over by this government to serve our country for forces that have despicable ends, to come back here and be treated like this and likened to stray cats and told that they can't have things when we're giving millions and millions of dollars away. Despicable.
Thank you, ma'am. Could you please state your name for the record, ma'am? Thank you.
My name is Janet Jackson. I'm the grandmother of Carrington James. He's 19 years old. And they are putting out a lot of stories. My grandson is in critical. He's not living on his own. And I'm listening to a lot of different stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a Herschel thing. Ain't nobody said nothing about my grandson, Carrington James. He is dying. He like to die this morning. And I haven't heard nothing from no one about what's going on. Well, it's been almost 2 weeks. I wound up going in the IC room myself. I took sick because I was just upset. And I just wanted to know, we need justice. And my son was shot by the police officer, and I haven't heard nothing. I haven't had no help, no nothing. Only thing I want to know, I'm ready to get to the end and the bottom of this. I need to know what's going on. And he's up there, he's dying. While they saying he's in stable condition, he's not in stable condition. He on life support and everything. He's not breathing oxygen that we breathe. He's breathing oxygen out of the machine. He got all types of tubes and everything in him. We need justice. Only thing I say, would y'all please pray for my grandson, Carrington James.
Alderman Gregory.
Ms. Jackson.
Jackson, Alderman
I
Gregory.
did, when you reached out to me, I did forward your information to Chief. No, I'm just letting you know that I did talk to him, and I know that some individuals are supposed to be getting with you so you can view that video. ISP, our police, and the state's attorney all together are supposed to view that video with you. I believe our police chief is out in the hallway now talking to another constituent, but make sure you get that information from him because I do think that it's important for you to view that information. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Alderman Gregory. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Yes, ma'am. Can you please state your name for the record?
Yeah, my name is Maribel Cruz Hine. I live on Ward 6. I watched the Sonia Massey commission, and I was playing it, while my baby was playing, and I heard someone said, Pastor McJenkins of Union Baptist Church was groping a woman. And he is part of the commission. How did he get to that position of power? I wonder. I'm going to say something that's going to trigger, I'm pretty sure, everyone here. I hate religion. For you to better understand, I am an indigenous, Native, Mexican American, part of the LGBTQIA community. My ancestors were martyred Their land was taken, women raped, children taken, taught to assimilate to colonizers' culture. Whitewash history. My history. We came to save you, they say. Praise to our God. Who were the savages here? That is why I see this an ongoing genocide happening in Palestine. And then I wonder why no one cares. I started going to the Black Lives Matters healing circles in the Unitarian Church to find a common ground. I started checking my own biases to truly see the good in people and continue to realize that we're all the same. The only thing that separates us, again, is our egos, fears, and beliefs. We must have to start addressing these biases of us versus them within ourselves. Deconstruct the way of thinking to move forward. How can we implement change if we don't give the oppressed a voice or power? How can there be any change if there's no police reform? Why do they continue to train them as is us versus them? Why are we still hiring people with DUIs, non-domestic abuses, racist, homophobic, predators, people in seats of power? I'll tell you why. It's part of white supremacy and colonization. The idea that some of our lives are worth more than others must go. The idea that people who look differently, pray differently, eat differently, love differently are less than, that idea has to go. To move forward, we have to stop making the same mistakes. We have to break this cycle. Think outside the box. Have you guys looked up communitysolutions.com? I'm asking for a friend. Talk and pair up with your local organizations. There's plenty out here. I mean, come on. Empower the oppressed and marginalized. Also, what is the point of the Sonia Massey Commission if you are not giving them any actual power? We have made tons of suggestions here. How is that going to change any different? How is that going to affect you guys? Really be part of the solutions, not the problems. Listen, implement changes that will benefit all. And as I always say, I wish you so much love, freedom, and liberation, and a free Palestine.
Woo! Your hand up.
Thank you for making time. My name is Brianna Washington. I am a local native. This is my first time attending one of these meetings, so I did not come prepared. I wanted to listen first. As I listen, I would like to share what I've been noticing my whole 34 years of living here in Springfield, Illinois. What I am noticing now in 2024 is what has been happening across the United States for decades. We are no longer expanding our east side. We are expanding our west side. When these developers remodeled Landfair, what happened to the north side? Those developers tore down everything. I grew up on North 14th and Phillips. That is almost non-existent. It's just parking lots. Why are we so-called using this cannabis money to fund all these different wards, but where's the money really going to? I talked to a friend that actually grows for Arizona, and he looked at the dispensaries here and how you guys have the labels. We're taxed on our THC levels, correct? But if you actually know anything about marijuana, THCA is what you guys are actually taxing us on. That's robbery. And I can't wait till that actually gets exposed, that we are being taxed on something that we are not actually benefiting from, okay? So there's a lot of problems. We have the highest tax when it comes to gasoline. Why did Georgia's mayor or governor give them a stipend tax to give them a break, but all we got is a sign on our gas pumps letting us know that we have one of the highest taxations when it comes to filling up our gas to get to and from work? Why? Every time I look at a receipt, it's about 5 taxes listed, but we're in debt. Why? How are we in so much debt when these citizens, including myself, pay all these taxes? Where's our tax money actually going to? Where? They say it's going to the educational system. That's failing our youth every day. I have a 16-year-old who was run away from February to May. You know what that school told me? I'm basically believing too much in our school system for them to keep eyes on my child while she's at school, because every time she ran away was on Springfield's high school property. When I went to every agency that is supposed to help for our juveniles, they tell me, unfortunately, ma'am, there's just not enough help. That's the same thing that happens to our mental individuals in Sangamon County. Myself, I use mental facilities, and guess what? There's a 6+ month wait to get in there. So when you are talking to individuals who are suffering with PTSD because what they was brought up in their community, because PTSD for the longest was just labeled as a military illness. Now we have actually come to realize that PTSD does not just stem from the military. It comes from whatever you dealt with in your childhood, and that is actually why most of these people are reacting to the police officers the way they are. When it comes to raising our children versus just the race, our Black African-American kids have to be taught how to, when you get pulled over, 10 and 2, don't reach. Make sure you let them know that you're reaching for your ID, your registration, so they don't think you're reaching for a gun. Y'all are not teaching y'all kids the same things we have to teach our kids to survive out here. So I've been talking to a lot of people because I personally work at the jail as a vendor. And I don't want to lose what brings income to my family, because I see what's wrong with this system. Everybody needs to be put out of this system, and everybody needs to be revoted, because that's really what the issue is. It's corrupt all the way down to Congress. Everybody wants to talk about the president, but the president does not write the laws, okay? We know who writes the laws. We know who votes on them. So if we do not start with Congress, nothing's going to change. All this protesting, all this shouting, all this people going to jail, all these people just making a noise, but it's really starting with Congress, the people who's writing the laws and putting the laws in place, that are blindsiding the citizens who don't know what they're writing on the ballot because all they put is Project 2025.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Can you please state your name for the record?
I'm Tierra Standage. I don't have much to say. I just wanted to answer Bree's question. The reason that we are highly taxed and in debt is because the mayor likes to give each police officer a $20,000 raise in 1 year instead of de-escalation training and tactics to use instead of escalating to deadly force. Thank you.
We have a motion, second. Mr. Johnson, can you come up? All in favor of a motion to adjourn? Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, let's keep going.